nous les Africains qui revenons venant des colonies pour sauver la patrie. Nous avons tout quitté par un beau bifouaille, et nous gardons au cœur une invincible ardeur, car nous voulons porter haut et fier le beau drapeau de notre France entière. Et si quelqu'un venait à y toucher, nous serions...
Okay, today on the Vice, we have a Moss 4956. I am collecting Cold War era rifles, battle rifles, and I had been missing this one for quite some time. All that was available out on the U.S. market were these Royal Tiger import Ethiopian versions, and not in the best condition. I certainly don't have the time or the skill set to bring something like that back into working order. Was watching YouTube, and one of everyone's favorite channels is Forgotten Weapons just a couple of months ago, and Ian mentioned that some rifles had just been released from the French government through Old Western Scrounger, Navy Arms. I think those are two companies that are the same, really, maybe a sister company of the other. One might be the importer, one might be the distributor. And they had some in really good condition just coming from the French government. They've been stored in caves. For those of you that may not know, France has a lot of limestone and a lot of limestone caves that they use to store anything from wine, champagne, and rifles. And it's a great environment because it's temperature controlled naturally. So these are in great shape. I'll take you guys through in a little bit closer detail. And what I want to do today is just sort of break things down and clean it as much as I can and get it ready to take out to the range and see if we can get a couple of rounds through it. These things are chambered in 7.5 French. And we'll also be looking to replace a firing pin. For those of you that may not know, the firing pin that comes with this is a free-floating pin. And for heavy primers that the French military used, they were fine. You can pretty much only get 7.5 French if you're not making it yourself, just from a very few places, and those primers tend to be a lot lighter. And so the gun is prone to slam firing. And one of the things you can do to mitigate that is to get a aftermarket firing pin, either titanium, which is a little bit lighter than steel, or a steel one with a spring. And there are a couple of places, I'll mention them later, where you might be able to find some solution for that. So that's what we'll look to do, is just to try to put one of those new firing pins in here and make it as safe as we can, and then take it out to the range. Still need to be careful with this because even with that spring in it, it could still do a slam fire. So you just have to be extra cautious with these rifles.
Take this apart, we just have to pull down on that. Let me bring this forward. Let me take the magazine out. Yep, and this is spring loaded, very AK-like. Just basically sort of like a little bit of a piston here, spring. We'll put that in the cleaning bucket, or to be cleaned. And then this is the bolt assembly right here. Very simple, really simple actually. That's where your gas, so this gas port goes right in there and blows it back. I mean, this thing's sort of built like a brick shithouse, if you ask me. It's really solid. Okay, so again, I'm looking for that P number if I can find it anywhere. 9375. Okay, so this is a different number. So it looks like there's a different number on the actual bolt than what I have on the receiver. And then this is the firing pin. That is a chonky firing pin, to say the least. That is chonky. Wow. All right, we'll get these cleaned up and see what's down the barrel. Okay, we get a little CLP. Just sort of spray it in here. And I mean, it looks in really good shape. And I know it does take some stripper clips. Probably have to get maybe a little pipe cleaner down that gas port. Just make sure it's clean. This is scope mount. I think that's one of the changes that they did on the 4956 right here. This is a scope mount. If you could find one of the original scopes, I know that's pretty cool. They're pretty expensive. There's a couple of, I think, Chinese or Japanese scopes that are made for this thing too, that I've seen on eBay that you can get for it. This is actually amazingly clean, considering, assuming it was made in the early 60s. We're about 60 years old, coming up or thereabouts with it. But I mean, this thing is really built. And I guess when you think about where the French were operating, you know, in Africa, North Africa mostly, Indochina, those were pretty harsh environments, to be sure. And so just looking for something simple that was reliable and functional. I don't think these things were known for their accuracy, but I don't know that a lot of battle rifles in that era really were. If you can say you have a minute of man, that was probably pretty good. So it'll be interesting to shoot this thing and see just sort of where things are setting. So and get some oil down in that locking mechanism. All right, let's get this bore brushed and get some hoppies to work. A big old mop of hops, and we'll get this working. I'm going to have to go from this end. All right, got a little bit of gunk in there for sure. Some copper, looks like, the green. So again, who knows what shape the barrel is in, but we'll let that go to work. I sort of double up on these patches just to make sure I got a lot of good, but there's some definite green in there. So I don't know that they cleaned it when they put it into storage. All right, let's spray this down. I know I should be wearing gloves, but just didn't have the time to put them on. I think in the from what I've read, the MOS 36, which was the bolt action, is pretty highly regarded. Everyone seemed to have a very positive opinion on that. I think a lot. And then there's a MOS 44, which I think they called it a naval version. There's only like 20,000 or 30,000 of those developed were the Moss 44. They had, or the 4956. They had over like 275,000. Let's see, is this? Yeah, that'll work. Let's see what's in here. Not too bad. All right, this one's a little worse. Yeah. That must be where the firing pin goes, maybe. I'm not sure. Or maybe that's the gas. That maybe that's probably the gas. Okay. And I know everyone has. I'm not a cleaning expert, man. So if I'm driving you guys crazy with how I'm cleaning this stuff, put it in the comments where I can do better. I'm more than happy to learn. I just sort of go to town and get things scrubbed as much as I can. Looks like we've got some gunk down in there. Again, not super dirty. Looks like just some basic dirt. Nothing too major. Oh, okay. Let's get in there. Oh, that's not bad in there at all. Yeah. Like a leaf spring sight. That's pretty cool. All right. We'll replace this thing, but I'll probably save it as a spare. Then we got this. Probably shouldn't have sprayed it on that bolt face. Oh well. I'll make sure we clean it out pretty good. And that is remarkably clean in there. Wow, great. this is really clean. Can't complain. All right, let's get this magazine sprayed off. I can feel sort of an oil slime here. Just want to wipe that off and get that off. We'll put a very light coating of CLP on it as a protectant at the end. I got some other magazines I got to clean off too. About a few extra. All right, we'll give this bore a scrub. Okay. Let that soak in there, and then we'll get some patches and start running it through. The gas gets shut off right here, and then you can bring up these sights. I think you gotta pull them, and then you've got some ranges right in through here. And forget, it's like a NATO standard in terms of the rocket propelled grenade that they put on this, and then this is your ranging right there. So sort of a cool system. We need to I think spray that a little bit, get some e-socks on this stuff. I'm just gonna scrub around here a little bit. Just very little overall. I mean, this is in remarkably good condition. I think just a little cleaning and some light lubrication is really all she needs. I mean, I certainly don't see myself needing a NATO rocket propelled grenade from the 50s and 60s on this bad boy, but you know, you never know. Just wipe this down. And let's see, get a Q-tip in there and just almost looks like one of those AR style sights, and I would imagine that's how you turn to adjust the elevation. Let's see, what does that say? If I can see it, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So looks like some type of turning. Yeah, I wonder if that AR style sight tool would work there. That'd be interesting to find out. Probably not, but I'll tell you, this thing's already moving better. So just getting a little CLP in there is helping things out. I'll put a little drop of oil in some of these places just to get a little bit of lube in there. All right, we'll give the barrel a little bit of a scrub. Just go back and forth real quick there. And we'll just give it one more pass through. But luckily, it is definitely free of obstruction. So that is a good news cookie that we will take. And get one of our jags here. Get a good jag. I sometimes like to double up on these patches with these larger bores and diameters, and I just feel I get a better meet up with the material inside of the barrel. So we'll try 2 down there, see if we can get 2 patches and see what we come up with. All right, definitely dirty. That is pretty filthy. So we're going to have to run, whew, man, a few of these down. Okay, I'm going to run some foaming bore cleaner down there. It's just really dirty. So again, after 60 years. Come on. There we go. Oh, nice. It's interesting. Looks like a meat grinder down there. We'll let that soak in, and then we'll give it another couple of scrubs and make sure we've got some good clean. Well, a little bit more of a scrub. So I put some foaming barrel cleaner in there, or bore cleaner. And let's just knock some more of that stuff loose. And then we'll run more patches through and see if we can get some more of that crud out. Patches here to get a nice thick wad of clean going down. Oh yeah, look at that. Even brought more out. Look at that. Wow. All right. Yeah, it is really pretty scummy in there, man. Let's get some more going. Okay, we've run several patches through. I think we're probably nearing the end here. This is about as clean as we're going to get it. I think there might be either some dirt or a little bit of rust right at the end of the barrel here. But that's a lot better than where we were. So I think what we'll do is we'll get 2 more of these patches. We'll coat it in a little CLP and just run a nice thin layer of some CLP down that, just as a protectant. I'm not sure when I'll be out to the range next to shoot this, so now that we've gave a good scrubbing, let's put just a little bit of protectant on it. and call it a day, at least on the barrel. And now I'm going to do a visual inspection. I've never really even looked at this barrel to check out rifling or anything to that effect. And we'll just coat that up a little bit on either side. And we'll just get it down there and give it a nice coating. Just wipe a little bit around the edge of the bore there. Okay. Barrel definitely looks clean, although I didn't see a lot of strong rifling. So it could be shot out. Again, I'm not super experienced on judging a barrel by looking through it with some light. But I didn't see a lot of these strong rifling, spirals. So we'll see how the accuracy is when we take this thing to the range. This is the firing pin replacement, Murray Gunsmithing, murrayguns.com. He sells these. These are steel, and you've got some extra springs with them, and they come with a little spring. So that's basically the replacement versus these big heavy things. So we'll get that going and get this thing lubed up, and then we'll get some oil on it. Put a very light coating of oil on some of the bolt and receiver elements here. Not super heavy, just more of a protectant. I may put a little grease on some of these grooves where they're sliding in, maybe on some of where the wear marks are. That's probably your windage adjustment there. Just put a little. Okay. All right, this is the original. Definitely is heavier. This doesn't seem to be as heavy, and goes in, I think, something like that. So have a nice spring to it, and we'll get this thing put back together. Yeah, so this is riding up like that. I think what I'll do is I'll put just a little grease right in there. Where's my grease? can see where some of these marks are. Oops. Okay, so we got the bolt in. We'll now put on the cover, and I apologize. I ran out of battery on this portable little camera and ran out of that. But basically, we got everything lubed up. I'm going to put everything back together, and then we'll get some oil on the stock here and let that get to work. But all in all, I think we're okay, and getting this thing ready to go to the range and see if it'll shoot a couple of rounds. Safety works. Everything seems to function properly. And now let's get some oil on the stock. Just get a little bit of life into it. I really love the look of this rifle. It is just a good looking, sort of classic look to it, to me anyway. Get in there. Let's give this wood just a little bit of love. There's definitely some wear on this wood for sure, but not too bad. Oh my God. I tell you, this thing's a pain in the ass. All right, we'll look to do 2 more coats on this, and then I think we'll be done. I've got to clean up some other magazines that are packaged in some oil. We'll get those cleaned up and get this gal ready to see if we can get a round through her, or a few. And again, I didn't see a lot of strong rifling groove, so the barrel may be shot out. It'll be interesting to see, you know, how it prints on paper when we're out at the range. But certainly the barrel is much cleaner. All in all, everything looks to be in good shape. We replaced the safety on it, so we have that spring-loaded safety, although from what I've seen on the internet, you still need to be really careful with these. Always make sure they're pointed downrange, as you always should. But I think we're ready to go.
Okay, the Moss 4956 is all lubed up. It's all, wood's been oiled up. I only went with 2 coats this time. It's soaking it in really nicely. Everything ready to go. Everything's function checked. Everything is set. So, you know, again, I think it's really coming out nice. I think it looks fantastic. Everything's oiled, lubed, double checked, cleaned. The barrel's spick and span. You know, as I mentioned before, the only question I have, I didn't really see a lot of defined, you know, rifling within the barrel. So maybe it's shot out, maybe there's just heavy use. So it'll be fun to get this thing on the range and see where it's coming out on paper and see what type of rifle we have. But all in all, it's a good looking rifle and it's come back to life really, really nice. Thanks for watching.
Venant des colonies pour sauver la patrie, nous avons tout quitté par embourbifouaille, et nous gardons au cœur une invincible ardeur, car nous voulons porter haut et fier le beau drapeau de notre France entière. Et si quelqu'un